Hello, my name is Tori Smith, and I would like to do a child trafficking report in regard to the MyLab child trafficking operation here in the United States, which is operated by DARPA and the CIA. And many people have been asking the same questions, which I really don't mind answering the same questions over and over again. I know a lot of people really don't have time to go through and watch the videos, but I've publicly said many times how I get information. I read evidence, and a lot of people don't understand when I tell them that I can connect to someone's DNA and read information out of it. They don't understand that, but most people that don't understand that is simply because they've never done any work to become able to do things like this. And most people on this planet, well, we all had 2 strands activated for many number of years, except for the dark side. They all had 156, and they were capped at that. They couldn't activate any more strands of DNA. Now, most people have gone from 2 strands to 12 strands activated, but that's just been through processes of healing by God through various means. Usually, this information is encoded us from the sunlight coming from our star that we call the sun. And, I tell people that I have over 1 million strands of DNA activated. There are... For a while, there was only 2 of us on this planet that did, and now I believe that there are 18 of us. And so, when you have that many strands of DNA activated, it's for us, it's the beginning of a state of what's called fully conscious. And there are many people on this planet who have they're in a state of a limited consciousness, and they say things like, "Well, if I don't understand it, it's not true." And, people that say, like, well, 9/11 didn't really exist. I don't believe for a second that the buildings were dropped, those 3 buildings in World Trade Center. I don't believe that Dick Cheney fired a missile into the Pentagon. A lot of people just, they can't connect to reality, and then they say, well, it's not true because I can't understand it. Well, the universe doesn't work that way. The universe doesn't just come down and say, okay, well, you don't understand it, so let me spell it out to you. You have to seek the truth. You have to go. You have to learn how to do things for yourself, and which I advise people to do all the time. When I hear something that intrigues me, I go and investigate it. And this report is for the 20th of the 26th of May. 932 children were gang raped and murdered, and they were brought in by 5 sources: ICE, the CIA, and SOCOM, because it counts as one, the Air Force, the Child Protective Services, and AFRICOM. And the CIA was overseeing SOCOM this week. A lot of these men get paid $100,000 a month to bring these children in. I know that men from the Air Force, they all get paid $100,000 a month to bring children in from other countries. Usually the Air Force brings children in from Asia, AFRICOM from Africa, sometimes Europe. NATO usually brings the children from Europe. And SOCOM works South America, and CPS abducts children here in the United States and Canada, and then supplies them to the men who rape and murder children. And like I said, this week 932 children were gang raped a total of 4,190 times by 3,017 men. As of this week, 16,192 men are raping children in this child trafficking operation. And of the 3,017 men who raped children this week, 927 murdered them. In other words, 927 men murdered 1 child, 1 man murdered 3 children, and another man murdered 2. And all these deaths were the classic way that they do it. They drug the children heavily, they choke the children to death, and they like the children to die at the same moment that they orgasm inside the child. It doesn't always work out for them because sometimes they get so excited being able to rape little children that the timing doesn't work out for them. But that's their favorite way to murder these children. And of course, they could never have a child like biting or scratching or kicking them or trying to get them off of them. That's why they drug them, because they like to have the children be basically in a coma. because there's so much more easier for them to murder that way, and that way they don't risk, being scratched or hurt by the children, because they're all the most amazing cowards. Their number one saying is, well, just wait till he goes to sleep and then shoot him. That's basically the way they are. Sneak up behind people behind their back and shoot them in the back. Of course, I've been saying for years, if you can rape and murder a 4-year-old girl, then there's no conscience there. You can pretty much do anything. And I'd like to mention, now we're going into a phase, I'm under divine guidance, we're going into a phase where we're going after the men. This is the next step in this child trafficking, in the seeking justice, divine justice for this child trafficking operation, is to go after the men who are doing it. And I was just told that I may not be here much longer anyway. So I'll try to do as many reports this weekend as I can, but things have really, there's a lot to do. It's summer now, and there's a lot to do. My family needs my help, but this is still a priority. I'm told that I'm going to be charged with 32 felonies because the local prosecutor, Matthew J. Rentschler, who joined the child trafficking operation and filed a bogus charge against me of public nuisance, he went down and met with child rapist and child murderer Greg Zeller, who raped a 5-year-old girl 3 hours and 15 minutes after he met with this prosecutor here in Whitley County. And boy, he's really smug. You should have seen his face in the courtroom. He's looking, he's like, we're going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. We are invincible. I'm thinking, no, you're not, dude. Your friends rape and murder children, and you're going out of your way. Well, this week, yesterday, Friday, 15 children were gang raped and murdered in Indianapolis, and this hot-to-trot Whitley County prosecutor is aiding and abetting them. So he's the accessory to the murders of 15 more children here in Indiana. But let's go back to what's going on. And I highlighted 4 children. Well, actually, mother and father, God, chose the 4 children for me. But I highlighted them. We have a 5-year-old girl from Korea. She was raped 394 times, and then she was murdered by Barack Obama. And we have a 6-year-old boy from Bolivia. He was raped 402 times, and he was murdered by the CEO of Cargill. A 7-year-old Mexican girl. She was raped 417 times, and she was murdered by Bill Gates from Microsoft, which I call micro crap. Most of his technology is all stolen or given to him anyway. Bill Gates is just nothing more than a filthy, low-life criminal who rapes and murders children. And an 8-year-old Syrian boy, he was raped 397 times, and he was murdered by the CEO of Dish Network. His name Charles Ergen. And Charles Ergen once said to Indiana Governor Mike Pence, "I just love effing little boys with you, Mike." Nice, real nice, going around bragging to their friends about raping little boys. Now, I'd like to go through the list really quick. Barack Obama, and I noticed that Barack Obama's been arrested, but he still has clones here. They're basically the same person with double bodies or triple bodies. I didn't check. I'd like to pull out Barack Obama's DNA, please, and current location of Barack Obama, Ergen. Okay, so he's still awaiting trial in Ergen. How many clones does he have at this time? 6. Oh, see, something's going on. I like to monitor the population of clones because there's always a story behind it. And so usually when the clone population goes up, it means that the regular people either were removed or arrested or whatever, or something big's about to go down. I think it's because they're producing these clones rather quickly and they're burning out really quickly. Joe Biden raped and murdered a child. He too is in Ergen, but his clones continue to rape and murder children. 17 others from the White House staff, including 42 Secret Service men. Now, a lot of the Secret Service men don't work in the White House. They're out, committing their rapes and murders in other locations. They work for, people like former war criminal Nancy Reagan, who finally got what she deserved. And she was immediately recycled, and they put her in India, in one of the poorest regions of India. Thank God. Justice was finally served with that filthy, low-life criminal. We also had 176 policemen participating this week in the rapes and murders of innocent children. 307 from the CIA, 214 from the FBI. Now, there are good people at the FBI, but these 214 aren't any of them. 3 presidential candidates all murdered a child. These are the people that murdered the children. The 214 FBI, 307 CIA, 176 policemen murdered children this week while raping them. And 3 presidential candidates all murdered a child this week. Ted Cruz murdered another child. Bernie Sanders murdered another child. Marco Rubio murdered another child. And I believe for Ted Cruz, this was his 44th child. For Bernie Sanders, this was his 21st child he murdered. And Marco Rubio has murdered 41 children while raping them. Filthy lowlife criminal Bill Gates murdered a child. The CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, murdered a child. A CEO of Ford named Mark Fields murdered a child this week. The former CEO of GM, Bob Lutz, he murdered a child this week. CEO of Halliburton, I forgot to pull up his name, sorry. The CEO of Cargill murdered 3 children this week. His name is David Maclennan. David Maclennan murdered 3 children this week. Cargill has been made famous because when after the children are gang raped and murdered in the My Lab child trafficking operation, they take the children and throw them into a tank where they're processed into a product which is mixed into the hamburger meat that Cargill sells. There's also another right over here in Chicago. I think it's Deerfield, Illinois, if I remember right. There's the Mondelez Corporation, Mondelez Food Corporation. They also put a lot of human, or Mondelez, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they also put a lot of humans into their food products. And who else do we have? Oh, Ted Turner, CNN executive Ted Turner murdered a child this week. The CEO of Monsanto, Hugh Grant, unfortunately the actor has the same name. CEO of Monsanto, Hugh Grant, murders a child. The CEO of Oracle, named Larry Ellison, he murdered a child. And like I said, Charles Ergen from the Dish Network. There were also 31 politicians, a lot of them local. 27 of these politicians were local state senators and local state house representatives. Only 4 U.S. senators murdered a child this week. That number's way down because every male in the Senate rapes and murders children. There's only 2 people in the United States Senate that are not involved in child trafficking. 2. And let's see, who else? Oh, and the rest were military. The rest of the children were murdered by the United States military. 932 children. Oh, I should have done a cost for this week. Here, I'd like to pull up the DNA of anyone at DARPA who... Oh, I forgot to put DARPA. A lot of times DARPA doesn't participate in the murders. Oh, because I just did a list of those who murdered, not who raped, because it was 3,017 men who raped the children, 927 who committed the murders. And so, you know what I'd like to pull up? Please, I'd like to pull up quantity of DNA of DARPA out of the 3,017. 53. Okay, I can connect to the DNA of 53 DARPA males who raped children out of this 3,017. Okay, I'd like to go to there. What was the cost? Because this is being, is it the Supreme Leader of the DN or Supreme Leader of the CIA who's overseeing this now? But he was just arrested yesterday, wasn't he? Again, there has been so many leaders of the CIA, because you know what, they're not human at all, and they're not from Earth. And people are wondering, well, why haven't these people been arrested yet? Well, the ones being arrested are not from Earth. And the ones that live here, what I call the Nazis, some people call them the Cabal, the Illuminati, or whatever. They got a whole bunch of different names. They've been trading gold. They used to trade human children for weapons and technology. But lately they've been trading gold. If you go look at Fort Knox, it's empty. Remember all that gold that was in the World Trade Center that was being stolen? That's all gone. They just keep giving all the gold from Earth away to these other criminals from other locations. And that's who the Galactics are arresting. I've been working with them for years now. People at Procyon, Alpha Centauri, Andromeda, and Thai Ceti. And I've had lifetimes in all four of these star systems. Okay, let's go with this. How much money did he spend? this week. $93 million. That's actually kind of low, because usually, so when there's this many children involved, it's usually over $100 million. In April, it was $2.2 billion, and May is about over, so I'll see if I can do a number for May before, if they come and haul me away again. I don't know. They're probably not going to be able to file charges over the holiday weekend, so at least I'm looking until Tuesday morning. My next court date is the 7th, which is the following Tuesday, but we'll have to see, because this Whitley County prosecutor named Matthew J. Rentschler is so, I've never seen somebody so adamant about protecting men who rape and murder children as this man. So we'll just see. We'll take it with a grain of salt, and we'll just see what happens. But I just don't feel threatened, and I don't feel like something bad's going to happen to me. So, but anyway, thank you for your prayers for ending this child trafficking operation. 932 children now dead. That's like the size of an old elementary school. And most of these children are between the ages of 3 and 6 years old. Thank you. Have a blessed weekend.